Welcome to Online Compliance Training Tutorials. In this tutorial, you will learn how to complete the Online OHS Starter Kit. The Online OHS Starter Kit has been designed to get the basic information into the database system. This tutorial will take you step by step through the process and help you identify what is needed before starting. The Starter Kit comprises of 8 easy steps, starting with a site, as everything has to be somewhere. These steps are the fundamental basics of any OHS system. Before we get started, just some background on why the information you enter into the Starter Kit is so important and its relation to the end user. One of the main features of the system is the ease of use. This is due to the fact that an employee can log in and select the Site button from the top toolbar. When they select the Site button, it opens up a register of the sites and/or departments that you have entered into the system. The employee only has to scroll down to their site and select the View icon to get any documentation, log a hazard, or log an accident, literally obtaining documents within 2 clicks. So it is important to identify how you're going to enter sites into the system, as everything is going to be related to a site, and it's all about making it easy for the end user to obtain any documentation needed. Okay, step 1 is entering sites. Now you know fundamentally how the system works. You need to identify how you're going to enter sites into the system. Are you a single site, or do you have multiple sites? You can also enter departments as a site. So, do you have departments? Entering this step is extremely important, as everything is going to relate to these sites. So when the employee uses the system, they only need to select the Site button on the top toolbar. Enter the sites into the database and select a start date, which can be today's date. Enter the phone number and site contact, and then select the Add button. Once you have entered all the sites into the system, select the Next button. Once you've entered all your sites, it's time to move to the next step, step 2, entering activities. In this step, you will need to identify activities undertaken by your company and the sites where they are undertaken at. Many companies have already developed various documentation relating to their activities. In this step, you need to identify this documentation, as you can upload it into the system to keep it in one unified area. So, what is an activity? Activities that are entered into the system are activities that need a procedure or safe work method developed, or when undertaken could cause injury or harm and have a risk associated with it. Enter your activities into the system. Relate the activity to a site. If the activity is undertaken at multiple sites, only enter the activity once, as you can copy the activity and relate it to another site in the Safe Work Method register. When you have selected all your activities, select the Next button. Step 3 is positions. In this step, you will need to identify all the positions in the company and any induction or training related to this position. Enter the position into the cell provided, and also enter a description and a review date for continual improvement. Since there are no employees in the system as yet, you can add the responsibility for reviewing this position at a later date after the Starter Kit process has been completed. Certain positions might need to have the employee undertake an induction or training course before they undertake that role. In the position entry, you can also relate induction and training requirements by selecting the green cross. Enter the induction and upload the learning material. Later, you can actually assign an employee to these inductions. Enter all your positions and move on to the next step. Step 4 is employees. In this step, you'll need to identify the employees and their site and positions that they relate to. You can also identify username and passwords for these employees. Enter all your employees and relate them to a site and a position. If you wish this employee to have access to the system, you can give them a username and password. Relate the employee to a site and position. If the employee is located at multiple sites, make sure to hold down the control button before selecting another site. You will also have to select the same amount of positions for the site selected. If needed, you may need to go back to the previous step and add a position again. Select the sites and positions and then complete the rest of the form. Make sure to select Save after each entry. After entering all the employees, move to the next step by selecting the Next button. Step 5 is Chemicals. In this step, you will need to identify any hazardous substances that your company use. Also, do you have any MSDSs or material safety data sheets for these substances? You will also have to identify control measures for these substances and storage and handling procedures. Enter the chemical and relate it to a site. Select the Add Chemical link to add a new chemical hazard into the system. Making sure to select the radio button of the hazard for this chemical. Complete all the details for the chemical and add control measures to help handling the substance. You can also upload the material safety data sheet into the system. Select Add and the system will now let you build a procedure for the substance. Step 6 is Plant and Equipment. In this step, you will need to identify all the plant and equipment that your company has and the qualifications or inductions needed to operate them. The items identified will also need to have maintenance schedules to show that you are providing a safe piece of equipment for your employees to use. And if you have any documentation like user manuals or safe operating procedures, you can still use these as they can be uploaded into the system. Enter the plant equipment into the database, making sure to relate the item to a site and an activity. Try to identify the last maintenance date of the equipment so you can enter the next scheduled date into the system. You can also set the person responsible for this maintenance, where they can receive an email alert. Step 7 is developing emergency procedures. Each site that you have entered into the system will need to have emergency procedures developed for them. Emergency procedures such as for fire and emergency evacuations. So for this step, you need to identify emergency scenarios for each site, as well as other specific scenarios relating to your activities. How you're going to alert people of the emergency and what emergency equipment is needed, as well as developing emergency procedures for the scenario. You may also have current documentation. You need to identify them so you can actually upload them into the system. This section will take you step by step through the process of building an emergency procedure. The first thing to do is to select a site. You can also tailor the system to develop individual scenarios relating to your business activities. making sure to select the radio button of the scenario before you move to the next step. You can also enter a company policy for the scenario, then select Next. Emergency scenarios will need a procedure. Use the Procedure Builder to build a procedure for this scenario. Once the procedure process is completed, it formats the information into a line. You can add as many steps as needed or delete this step by selecting the red cross next to the line. Each emergency procedure will also need an alerting system to warn people. Identify and add the alerting system for the scenario. The same process is undertaken for equipment. Select the link and enter the emergency equipment needed for the scenario. These items will also need to have maintenance dates and schedules attached to them. Enter the date and the item will also go into its own equipment register found in the policy icon section under Emergency Equipment. And the last step of the starter kit process is policies. In this section, the system allows you either to develop a policy or upload current policies you might already have. So, what do you need to do in this section? You need to identify all the policies that your company currently has, and also policies that you might need to develop. Enter the policy name and build the policy using the policy editor. If you are copying and pasting from any current documentation, use the word paste icon. For policies you might already have, you can upload your documentation into the system here.